Right.
My name is Raymond Arent. I'm a New York Times top 10 bestselling author, a publisher, professional speaker, seminar leader, broadcaster, and adventurer. But in this case, I am an interviewer, and I am interviewing one of the most astounding people I know in the field of arts, in the field specifically of photography. This man, Carl Studna, stands out head and shoulders above others in the world, not just nationally, but internationally. He has been the hired portrait photographer for some of the greatest people who have lived during our time. In the arts, it's Paul McCartney and George Harrison and Bob Dylan, also His Holiness the Dalai Lama, like the number of famous people. If you go to his website, carlstudna.com, C-A-R-L, Studna, S-T-U-D-N-A.com. You can see them and be as dazzled as I am with him, with his works, with the history of his works, with the body of work that he's created in his lifetime. And he's a young man. The body of his work that he's created is amazing. Like, how do you get to be the portrait photographer for the Dalai Lama, for God's sakes? Anyways, at his wonderfully young age, he is one of the most well-known members of Transformational Leadership Council, of which he and I are both members. And he is doing something really, really special. And I have decided to help him. I've decided to throw whatever weight I have, whatever sway and reach that I have behind inviting you, whether you know me or not. I'm going to be sending this out through social media, so you likely know me. But if you don't know me, trust me anyways, because I'm not selling anything. I'm giving you something. And I'm giving you an opportunity to see my dear friend, my amazing artist, photographer friend, Carl Studna, do his genius. And one of the reasons that I'm particularly happy to promote Carl, not just because I love him, but he's doing something that is so wonderful. He's doing something so wonderful, and we'll get into the date and time and all the details later. But typically people are afraid that with their little cell phone, they can't really do a good job. They can just do snapshots. And whenever you see a photographer, you get renewed in your low self-confidence, because the photographer walks in with a 10-pound camera that's 1.5 feet long. You say, oh man, all I've got is a little cell phone. What can I do? Well, Carl is going to tell you what to do, because he has an amazing event coming up, and it's called The Art and Soul of Taking Better Photographs with Your Phone. The art and soul. So first of all, it's the art, like what to look for, how to, well, he'll tell you what he's going to be teaching you, but it's the soul. It's the soul of the art taking. And when you take into account the soul, it doesn't matter if you have a $50,000 Hasselblad or whether you've got a $1,000 cell phone. It doesn't matter. The soul will still come through. Anyways, that's my introduction of you, Carl. And now you have to live up to all that.
Thank you, Raymond. It's wonderful to be with you, and I'm so honored. Your beautiful introduction just really touches my heart. Yeah, so I'm grateful that you are highlighting me here, and because this series is really the first of its kind that I have offered in my 40-year career. People have been asking me for a number of years, when are you going to do a comprehensive online course, master's course in photography? And it's here. It all came together. I'm partnering with the organization Humanities Team. They're a wonderful organization devoted to world peace. And what you mentioned actually is the art and soul of taking better photographs with your phone. That's going to be 2 free video series that we're offering on the 27th and the 31st of this month. And then following that, in September will be a comprehensive course, a master's course called Zen and the Art of Smartphone Photography. And that will be a 12-module class throughout September and into October.
Well, let's start with the freebie classes that we're going to be talking about here. So,
Always good to start with a freebie class.
right.
August 27th and August 31st are the two free video, and those are going to be 90-minute modules where we really get into looking at how we can use our smartphones in order to not only take better pictures, but as you were saying, Raymond, to really open up to how we see everything around us. So it's opening our artist's eye. How do we do that in a stronger way? Because when we do, this is what I found in my 40-year career, when we open up our artist's eye and our field of perception and our sensitivity in how we see and perceive light, then woo, those pictures just pop out. You just start seeing things around you and you become inspired. So that's what I'm going to be going into depth with, is how to cultivate that artist's eye, all these different tips that I'll be offering, and then interaction. It's going to be very comprehensive. 5 p.m. Pacific, and obviously by 8 p.m. Eastern. And then the one on the 31st of August is at 9 a.m. I think you'll be sending a link to everybody. So that'll have all the information on it. The exciting thing about this for me is that I've been collecting all of this experience and wisdom over all these years. And I didn't realize just all the different insights and various tips and tools that I was gaining. Obviously, you're going to in a 40-year career. And I actually started photography when I was 16. So it's been 50-some years. So it's been a long time, most of my life. Have been doing these smartphone photography courses yearly, like once a year for a while. And this is how this evolved, that Steve Farrell, the co-founder of Humanities Team, was in my last one last fall. And he was so inspired. And he said to me, you know, this would really make a great compilation. Let's craft all of these different modules so that we can come up with different themes that you're addressing in your class, so you're able to share it with a much broader group of people. You know, when we're taking pictures, number one, there's more people on the planet now that are using their smartphones and taking pictures than ever. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but if you were to look at a graph, it would probably have been like this, and then the last 4 or 5 years, like going straight up. Because, well, we just got this statistic recently at TLC that I think it's 3.2 billion people on the planet have smartphones now.
Oh,
so think about that. 3.2 billion people on the planet having smartphones, meaning they have cameras. So think about all of the people now that are getting turned on to taking pictures that never had before. So there's a paradigm shift that's been taking place over the last few years, where it used to be, when I would do classes, it used to be with my real camera, and only people who were like serious amateurs or maybe budding professionals would show up. Now, you know, this insight hit me about 2-3 years ago. I should start offering these smartphone classes because so many more people are getting interested and inspired to take pictures. How do I teach them in a way that's not only giving them tools on how to access their cameras and all the different things that you can access on your phone, but also, as I was saying, how do we open our inner eye? How do we become more inspired? How do we become to see it more as an adventure? You know, that's one of the modules I talk about, is seeing photography as an adventure, right? How do we anchor in the artist's eye? All of that. There are so many different dimensions.
Yes, and what I want to say is, I remember 10 or 20 years ago asking a photographer, what's the difference between your camera and my Brownie Instamatic, let's say?
Brownie, yeah, Brownie. You're going back. You're going back to the 60s, the 50s and 60s.
But I asked, what's the real difference? And he said, it's the number of megapixels. And he told me, and I'd like you to correct it or amplify it, he said that 8 megapixels and above is a professional camera, and below that, it's just kids having fun. But now I understand that my ordinary I don't want to call an iPhone ordinary, but my quote everyday phone has more than 8 megapixels. Is that correct?
Yeah. Typically, most newer smartphones have much higher than 8 megapixels, and most people don't blow their pictures up to really large photographs. The truth is that if you were to want to make a wall-size photo, like a mural-size photo, you would see a difference between using a professional, like my Nikon that I have it goes up to 54 megapixels. I mean, it's just
Wow.
outrageous. It's outrageous. And
Really?
it takes up a lot of storage, So you would see a difference, obviously, also the optics of the lenses and everything, if you were to really blow them up large. But the truth is, with most people now, most people are sharing their pictures on their phones or at the largest, a computer screen. So the size of a computer screen is even ample, you can get awesome pictures with your phone, even just blowing them up to the size of a computer screen. And
But
then, yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to make the point that cell phones aren't just a toy camera.
That's
They're a
right.
camera that has more megapixels than the definition, or at least the 10-year ago definition of a professional camera. But also in many airports, I've only seen it in airports, they'll say photo taken by an iPhone. And they'll have a picture on the wall that, I don't know, it's like 100 feet wide and 30 feet tall. And how on earth do they do that? That's so startling. So my point is that what he's going to be showing you on the 27th and the 31st is not to how to use a toy, but how to use a real, unbelievably powerful thing, even though it's so tiny. The camera, I don't even know where they hide the camera, but like when you see a professional with a camera, it's like it's a big deal, and I don't know where they put it in here, but what I'm trying to get across, and maybe you could help me a bit, that what Carl's going to be teaching you is how to use a real professional camera. Just because it's tiny doesn't mean it isn't real and professional. And
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of functions on the smartphones now, the iPhones and the Galaxies. There's a lot of different functions, for being able to adjust your image, the exposure, all this before you take the picture, and then a tremendous amount you can do in post-production. So one of the things that I teach is a couple softwares, they're actually free softwares that you can download. And I go step by step with people on how to use some of these softwares to adjust all these different levels that typically in the past you would have had to do in a dark room, I mean, with film. Now, so as long as a picture has enough data on it, you can go to these levels and shift the exposures, you can shift the highlights, you can shift the contrast, you can make it less or more color, you can put filters on them to enhance in certain ways. And it's an exciting time in that way because it allows the everyday person to have this little device, as you're saying, take these really good pictures and have them go from ordinary to extraordinary. So that's a focus that I have with people, is how to not only before the picture, but after you take it, how to make it from an ordinary picture to extraordinary.
well, I'm not going to ask you what big secrets you're going to reveal. I'm going to ask them to go there to hear it from you. But what I want you to tell them now is the bad news. And my favorite is when people take a picture, for some reason, I don't know where this started, but all photographers count to 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So in that time, what you have to do is hold an artificial smile. I mean, I exaggerated there, but you have to hold the smile, which means the authenticity and the moment disappear. And it makes all pictures horrible. And yet every photographer does it. So I certainly
Well,
hope.
not ever.
No, I'm sorry. All bad photographers. I'm saying as a general statement.
Yeah, most photographers do that.
Yes. You hand them the camera and they know they're supposed to count to 3.
The birth of cheese, and I just called it that because somewhere in the past, probably in the 40s or 50s, someone had the idea, which created a whole paradigm for the photographer coming up with a word that just got people to look like they're smiling by saying cheese. So cheese, but it's not interaction. So part of my whole approach and what I encourage is learning how to shift that paradigm from a photographer or even anyone that's just picking up their camera to take a picture of somebody, shifting it from expecting the person to have a natural smile to being co-creative with them. So rather than just saying a word or telling them to smile, well, what can you do to work with someone or just to be with someone to evoke a natural smile from them? And it's really about how do we get someone to feel trusting and safe, and just present so that they're naturally smiling rather than, and that's why so many people hate having their picture taken, is because it's a artificial, unrealistic expectation to whip out your camera and just take a picture and expect that someone's going to be relaxed. It's not real.
I'm not going to give away your amazing secret, but at our recent meeting with all the famous people in the world, like Jack Canfield and everybody who was in the movie The Secret, you taught a technique, which I'm not going to ask you to reveal, a simple technique. We originally chuckled because it was so simple. And then you told everyone to get into pairs, exchange cameras so we could take pictures of each other with the other person's camera, and use this technique. And then submit our photographs to a central website. And you chose the best ones and presented them on the last day. They were amazing. They were like a portrait. They were just the heart and soul and enthusiasm and love and charisma was all boiling out of the people's faces. It was so wonderful from one tiny piece of advice that you gave, and we loved it. And people were using that technique in laughter the whole week that we were together. It took over the meeting. It was so wonderful.
Yeah, that really warmed my heart. It really warmed my heart that people were using that and continuing to practice that. And as you said, just evoke these very natural smiles because they were feeling safe and trusting in front of each other.
Well, if you want to learn from this man, and please, if trust me, if you love me, reflect the limelight to Carl Studna. He's amazing. I've hired him on 2 occasions. And on one occasion, the picture that he took was so unbelievable. It just was so me that I paid him extra for the right to use it in my marketing. And I just love him. I just love him. And for him to be able to deliver a presentation to you at no charge, grab it. So there's a link either above or below. I'm going to be putting this on different media, so different social media. So I don't know if it's going to be above or below, but just look for it, click on the link and join. August 27 or August 31 of the year 2019 at different times on the 2 days. So you have to click on the link and find out when the times are. How long is that?
They're 90 minutes. And, and if you don't have 90 minutes, just come on for whatever amount of time that you want to come on for, and I'd love to have you on. Yeah, as I said, the second part of each video, we're going to have it'll be live Zoom, so people can interact and ask questions and such. So please come and join us. It'd be my honor.
And I will be there. And I can't insist on my clients, but God, I wish I could. Go there. This is not self-serving. If I were telling you to come to one of my events, that'd be self-serving. But I am magnanimously, freely, lovingly inviting you to experience the genius and the heart and the wisdom of 40 years of experience of Carl Studna. And if you want to get a glimpse of his work and the famous people that he has been the portrait photographer for, Carl Studna, Studna, carlstudna.com, just to get a glimpse of who he is, but really click on the link in order to join either the class on August 27 or August 31. And you'll enjoy it. You'll love it. 90 minutes with Carl? Heck, I'd do that. I'd pay for that. I do pay for that. I ought to come to our Transformational Leadership Council meetings twice a year. And one of the people who is always high up on my hug card is Carl.
Well, thank you, Raymond. I feel the same with you. Absolutely.
So is there something you'd like to say to end the presentation and encourage them to click the link?
Yeah, click. That's one of my Click is one of my key words because every moment of the click offers us the opportunity to either be in love or be in fear. So
Wow.
click on that link, choose love, and choose to join me.
Wow. And by the way, Click was the title of Carl's first book. And he actually interviewed me, and my comment or my contribution was actually included in his
You
book.
had an awesome story that was included in it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, that was a fun story.
Mm-hmm.
So buy his book, go to his website, but for sure, click on the link below or above in order to register for his free 90 minutes on August 27, August 31. The time of day varies, so just click on it and you'll see your options and register. I look forward to seeing you there because I'll be there.
Thank you, Raymond.
Okay.
Everybody take good care.
Okay. Bye-bye, Carl.
Bye-bye.